So it's not easy to make foot care and foot pain sound exciting in 5 minutes, so I'm just going to get started. Before I tell you more about what we do at HealthCasa and the problem that we're trying to solve, I'll tell you a little bit about my story and how I got to this point. Okay, so if you're wondering where the accent is from, I grew up and lived most of my life in South Africa. That's where I graduated from dental school, and that was my life for the next 4 years as a practicing dentist in Johannesburg. I knew early on that it wasn't something I wanted to be doing for the next 40 years. I knew I wanted to be somewhere in the healthcare space, but wasn't really sure what that looked like. So when I moved to Toronto, I did what a lot of people do when they're looking for a career change but not sure what that is. I went to business school at Rotman and was convinced I was going to be a consultant. I did some consulting work in the private and the public healthcare spaces, explored opportunities to be a consultant and an investor in the dental world, but knew deep down that I really wanted to be creating something of my own, something I was really passionate about. Fast forward, a couple of years later, I became a mom for the first time, and that's when I really understood what it meant to be busy. And that's also around the same time that I met my co-founder, Mike, and he had owned a bunch of very successful podiatry clinics, foot care clinics, and orthotic labs across the GTA, and was looking to kind of take the business to the next level. And the idea of bringing the clinic into the home really made sense to me. I was a new mom, I was living in downtown Toronto, I could buy groceries and diapers online and get them delivered to my door, and I could never understand why it had to be so difficult and so inconvenient when it comes to healthcare. So there we go, that's where HealthCasa started, and I became a startup founder. So the clock is ticking, so I'm just going to keep going. I'll tell you a little bit about the problem that we're solving and what we do at HealthCasa. So foot pain is actually really, really common. People don't know that it's so common, and it really does affect your quality of life. But it's super, super inconvenient to deal with. And it's not a cost issue because most of these services are covered by private insurance plans. It's really a time issue. And those 2 to 3 hours of time are comprised of booking the appointment, sitting in traffic, sitting in a waiting room, getting the orthotics, going back, picking them up, and the cycle continues. So what we've created is a very simple, convenient solution where a patient can go online, book an appointment, and everything takes place within their home or their office. On the practitioner side, we've created a practice management platform and an EMR system that our practitioners can actually use and want to use. And really, we're targeting busy people like myself, like all of you in the audience, working professionals who don't have time to travel and sit in a waiting room. So how it works, it's really simple. Select your address, select a day and a time that's convenient, pick your practitioner, and that's it, your appointment is booked. So I've obviously had a very unconventional background. I can admit I've made mistakes. That's okay, I've learned from those mistakes. So I'm going to kind of share a couple of the lessons learned along the way. So I really like this one because it talks a lot about kind of your mindset. People think that you have to have a tech background or be in a specific vertical to be a founder in that space. Obviously, I'm not an engineer. I don't know how to code. I'm also not a podiatrist. I literally specialize in the opposite end of the human body. So it's for sure been a learning curve, but I think you kind of have to just embrace it and consider it an asset sometimes. It just means you can be open-minded. You can ask a lot of questions. You're not clouded by how things used to get done or how you think things should get done. And I think in the healthcare space, that's actually really valuable. This is a difficult one for me, for sure. You have to be an eternal optimist as an entrepreneur. You're going to have days where you feel amazing and you have customers and you have great feedback, and then you're going to have days where the tech fails and you're wondering why you ever did this. And what one of our mentors and investors always tells us is just remember that businesses take time. So, take the time to check in with yourself and remember why you're doing what you're doing. I think the scientists in the room will like this one. We started with something that seemed like a very simple concept. We're sending practitioners to your home. What's the big deal? But we soon realized that we needed to kind of adhere to, within this niche podiatry market, we had to adhere to all the regulations that a traditional brick and mortar clinic would have to adhere to. So all the advertising guidelines and infection control standards and documentation for insurance, and those are things you need to kind of be aware of, whichever vertical you go into in healthcare. And then being an online platform, we heard about cybersecurity and PHIPAA and HIPAA, and thankfully we met Balaji from MedStack at another HealthTO event, and he kind of helped us get going with that. And then on top of that, because we're a mobile platform, we needed to build out a whole supply chain and inventory distribution and instrument distribution process. So I think the key here is nothing is as simple as it seems when you're starting a business or starting a tech platform. Just do the research, ask a lot of questions, speak to as many people as you can, come to these kind of events, and learn from what other people have done. And then lastly, just to finish off, I think at some point the research and the planning has to end, and you just have to get going. As a first-time tech founder and building a new platform, it's very easy to kind of go a little crazy and try and make a perfect platform with all the perfect features. As Bailey mentioned, you're trying to make it for a perfect user or customer, and who is that user and who is that customer? So the key is just to get going, get started, start small, but just start. And that's it. So follow us on social. That's our website. That's my email address. I'll be here after the event.